Hey everybody, welcome back. It is week 2 in ENC 1101. So we are like a fourth of the way through already, which is a little crazy, but in these short terms, that is what happens. I've been really enjoying getting to read all of your introductions over on the discussion board. So thank you, kudos to you for sharing your information and yourself with the rest of the class. We are going to take a look at what's happening this week specifically. So let me open that up and we'll get started with our walkthrough. Just a reminder, if you have not already done both the discussion and the startup scavenger hunt, those are your official week 1 assignments. So please do make sure that you have done that. But anyway, we will proceed. So I always like to start these with a little overview and a little reminder of where we are in the semester. We are in week 2, as I mentioned, and of course the college is closed on Monday, but that doesn't really affect our fully online class very much. You are welcome to do work on Monday, even though the college is closed. But we are going to be looking this week at college reading and writing, like the importance of how to do those things specifically in a college environment. And we are going to be looking at the first of two what we call rhetorical modes. These are ways of developing your writing. So narration and description are both going to be utilized in your personal narrative assignment, which is your big assignment for this week. We also are going to be conducting our first active reading discussion board. So as you can see throughout the semester, you typically have 2 things each week, one shorter, one a little bit longer. So let's take a look at the module and get you situated. You may also have noticed, if you have not, I will let you know, everything is open up through week 6 now, so I should have the rest of the class up this week sometime. But for those of you who like to read ahead and look ahead, more weeks are open now, so feel free to peruse those. So this week, of course, in week 2, as I mentioned, our main goal is to think about reading and writing, and specifically the writing process, narration, and description. So you're going to read and engage with the course materials. You're going to demonstrate your active reading skills, and you're going to write a personal narrative, which of course is not a researched essay. You are just writing about yourself, but it is a formal paper for ENC 1101. So we're going to set it up in MLA format and all those wonderful things. So we are practicing some new skills this week. All right, so let's look at the learning materials. Remember, of course, that it is very important that you do these things in order, that you do the readings and videos, and then proceed to do the assignments. At the top of each of the learning materials pages, I have included the overall link to the Valencia Writer website. It is a library guide, LibGuide, everybody calls them LibGuides for short. And it has a ton of information in it. So if you have questions and you are unsure of something, the answers are probably in there somewhere. So I want you to have that access. Now, we'll also always have specific assignments to read that are found on that page, but that's the overall link, okay, to the big page. So you have 2 things to read. One is from a textbook called Open Oregon, which is a real textbook, but it's a open source. You're going to read the first 2 sections on composing and academic writing. In the rhetorical patterns page, you're going to read the selections on narrative and description. So let me show you what that looks like. When you open Oregon, double there, you're going to be able to navigate through the contents. So you're going to click on the composing, read that section, click on academic writing and read that section. Those are the only 2 that you need to do for this week. On the rhetorical patterns page, there's going to be a list, and you're going to read narration and description this week. They're not in the same order that I would have put them in, but we will make it work. We're going to use this page a lot, by the way. So this is one that you're going to eventually read all of these. So, but this week you want to focus on the 2 that we're actually using, which will be narration and description. You have my lecture video, so please make sure that you view that. And then if you have not already done so, I had this link in last week, but if you didn't do it yet, please do it now. You are going to need to use Microsoft Word this week. So you need to have your access to Office 365. And then I've got several versions of how to format your MLA papers. So if you're using 365, read this one or view this one. These are all videos. Desktop version of Word, if you've got a fully, like if you bought your computer and already had Word loaded on it, you're going to want to use this. If you are trying to use Google Docs and then save it as a Word document, you can certainly do that. I would not, but here's how to set it up if need be. And last but not least, for those of us, myself included, who are using a Mac, Pages is already loaded on it. And just like Google Docs, you can still save the document as a Word doc on your computer, which you will need to do. All of your formal assignments need to be turned in Word format, not PDF, not anything else. Please, please, please try to remember to do that. If you don't, I will make you redo it. I will make you send it in again. So please do view those. It will help you figure out how to do that. So then you have two graded assignments, the active reading discussion and the personal narrative. We're going to go back to the modules and look at each one. You can link them right there as well, but this is where you'll probably want to go to turn things in. So for the narrative, in this personal narrative essay, you will delve into a significant experience or event from your life that brought about a meaningful change in your perspective, beliefs, or values. Through vivid storytelling and introspection, you will recount the details of your experience, explore how it impacted you, and reflect on the lessons learned. Now, I would highly recommend that you choose an event that was positive and not an event that was traumatic. It is true that negative events often have positive outcomes, but it is much harder to write about something that is traumatic. And it's especially hard to get graded when you are writing about something that was sad or tragic. So keep that in mind as you are thinking about your choices. In terms of selecting a topic, it really can be anything. And a lot of people think, oh, well, nothing significant has happened to me, but that's never true. The example that I always like to give is I could write a whole personal narrative paper about my 5th birthday party, even though I would have to make up some of the details because I don't remember everything because that was a long, long time ago. But I remember that day being super significant because two things. Number one, I had a Cinderella cake, and that kind of started my lifelong love of Disney. But also, my grandparents took me to see Charlotte's Web in the movie theater before my birthday, and I was party, and I was traumatized and crying throughout the whole thing. So I still cry at almost every movie that I go to. So lifelong traditions were started on that day. So I could write my paper about that. It's something that I've got a lot of distance on. It's something that my grandparents are all, and my parents are all passed on now. So there's sad elements to it, but I could definitely see writing about that. So select a topic that means something to you, but that also is going to be a joy for you to write about. In terms of narrative elements, one of the reasons I have you read about description as well is that, of course, you're going to describe the time, the place, the atmosphere, and the people. So description plays a big role anytime we have a narrative. You are going to establish the people involved. I call them characters here. We typically don't think of people in our own lives as characters, but they are characters in this story. So I want you to think about it as if you were writing a story for a movie, for whatever, but something based on reality. Plot development, build a chronological sequence of events that led to the transformative moment. There needs to be some kind of conflict. If there's no conflict or challenge, then there is no story. And then, of course, at the end, how did everything come out? You'll also be reflecting on personal growth, lessons learned, and I would love to see this kind of tie into wider themes, such as resilience or empathy, cultural awareness, personal identity. Maybe it's a travel story. Cultural awareness is always always an outcome of travel. So, kind of think about how it ties into bigger picture issues. Use descriptive language, and you will still have a thesis. You will have a point that you're going to make. You may have the thesis at the end rather than at the beginning. So this might be a little bit different than a standard research paper where the thesis goes in the introduction, but you will still have a logical organization. You'll have an introduction. You'll have all the story will be in the body paragraphs, and then your conclusion will be that kind of reflective piece. You can get peer review, ask one of your classmates, go on the ask the instructor Q&A discussion board and see if anybody wants to swap papers. You also can run things by me. I do not have time to read everybody's paper and then read them again when I grade them, but if you have questions, please do check in with me. Also, don't forget that you can utilize the Learning Center, that you have writing tutors available on all of Valencia's campuses. And there's long distance help as well. So check in with that. The resource stuff is all back in week 1. You are going to have a typed double-spaced 12-point font paper. It should be at least 3 pages. That does include the first page having your name and my name and all that and stuff up at the top. So it may not be exactly 3 pages of text, but that's okay. You will not have any external research for this particular assignment. So you're going to create your paper in Word, in MLA format, and you're going to save it on your computer so that you can upload your final essay to the assignment in Canvas by the deadline, which is next Sunday night, the end of week 2. Assessment criteria and rubric are all here for you to examine as well. So you will want to kind of target these areas and say, okay, I want to make sure I get all my points on this. So I'm going to make sure that I have double, triple checked my grammar and punctuation, et cetera, et cetera. When you are ready to submit it, you click on New Attempt. You're going to upload the file, choose the file, and I have actually already submitted one for this, and I'm going to show you this I show it in other videos. We click on Submit Assignment. You can upload it more than once. One of the things that you'll see, I now have 2 of the same thing here. But one of the things that's important to know is it is fine to submit more than one. What always happens to me is that I will go ahead and submit it and then I find an error. So feel free to just submit it again. I will always grade the last one received. All right, so that's the big assignment this week. Let's talk about the active reading. Active reading assignments are all fairly similar. Each time you will have an article. There's a link to the article right there. The goal of these assignments is to engage critically with the article and develop analytical skills to assess the author's argument, evidence, and rhetorical strategies. Through active reading, students will enhance their comprehension, interpretation, and response to the text. So you should follow these directions each time. Okay. Now, the minutes may be a little bit different. It may not take you as long. One of the articles may be a little longer, one may be a little shorter, whatever. But follow these directions. This is a great kind of step-by-step, how do I do active reading? So I want you to keep that in mind. In terms of what you're actually going to write on the discussion board when you are ready, you are mostly focusing on everything after number 6. So you're going to include the summary of the main ideas. You're going to relate it to your own experiences, and you're going to have at least 3 questions about the article that your classmates can then answer. So you're going to include those, and then always a little reflection on the process of doing it. Just the overall, how did this go for you? Okay. So when you respond to others, and you don't have to do that within the same week, you have another week to do that after we are finished posting them. Choose 1 or more of the questions your classmates write for number 8 and respond. You need to post to 2 of your classmates within that following week. And I'll remind you of that when we get there. All right. So those are your marching orders for week number 2. As usual, if you run into any problems, please let me know. Feel free to reach out by inbox and I will or the Q&A discussion board, and I will see you next week. Take care in the meantime.